You sure?
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Last time. She wants to go.
Oh, I know. It says meeting is now streaming live on custom live streaming service.
And yes, now I believe now we are live. Yes.
Beautiful. God, it's so funny. It's like, are we live? Are we not? How are you, Andrew?
Kylie, I'm really good, actually. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm great. Do you know what? It is, what are we, day 5 of spring? And guess what? Just to make you just slightly jealous, since I know you're in the UK, it was 29 degrees here today.
Wow. Yeah, but where you are, that's about normal, isn't it?
Well, look, not for maybe this early in spring, but I tell you what, I'm just loving it. Got the short sleeve shirts on now. Might have to have a swim. No, no, not yet. Tell us what the degrees
your entire office is set up to do that, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. So, look, for anyone new listening in, just a bit of context. We have decided to do just short, sharp leadership lounge lives where we get to talk all things leadership. And you're in the UK, Andrew. I'm in here in Brisbane, Australia. We've known each other for such a long time. Both did our org psych degrees together. Love both the coaching, the business coaching, the strategy development workshops, all of those kind of fun things that we both get to do. And most of all, we love helping leaders.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And last week or last fortnight, we actually talked about vision and mission and purpose. And I thought for this one, because I think we got some really great comments and really great people asking questions. So I thought it would be good that I would just talk around a triangle that I use whenever I'm working with organizations or leadership teams, helping them to develop their strategy. So RG, if you want to share your screen, let's have a quick talk through this. And then what I really want to talk about this time, Andrew, is a little bit about vision. So for those that can see, what we've got here is essentially a strategic and operational planning hierarchy. So it's what organizations or teams should do when it comes to setting their goals, setting their vision, setting their course, that light on the hill. So we always start at the top, and I don't know if you can see my cursor, but hopefully you can. You can see at the top, we start with what are our values? What's our vision? What's our purpose and mission? Then we have objectives, which are our goals. Then we have, well, how do we measure our goals? Then we have strategies. This is kind of like, how are we going to achieve it? You know, what's our plan of action? What's our specific SMART goal? And then the initiatives are things like, what are the programs or the projects or the activities and tactics that we're going to do in order to be able to achieve the goals. And I often find, Andrew, and you might correct me or you might have a different view, but I often find that companies are really good at setting values. They're pretty good at having a vision and a purpose and a mission. They most of the time have 3 or 5 goals they might want to achieve as a business. But where I see many fall down is they don't have some real clear measures, real clear strategies, and real clear initiatives. And the bottom bit of this triangle is essentially the activities that drive us to achieve those goals. So I thought we would talk a little bit more about vision, because I know you're really passionate about vision. But Andrew, I'll take it over to you and you can have a talk through this triangle from your perspective, and then let's take it down and have a chat.
Yeah, firstly, I really love this diagram, by the way. There's a couple of things that, for me, working with companies where I say, where you talk about values, for example, I've done a lot of work with companies where they're not really sure what their values and principles are, believe it or not, right?
Yeah, right.
And so the thing is to really check that out. If you're watching this going, what do we stand for? I mean, it's a really straightforward question, but what do we stand for? What do we really value? So as an example of that, and I know we want to go into vision, but my brother, who's a corporate chef, right? He does private chef work. We were talking about the principles that underpin his business. And for example, he's got 7 principles And one of them is everything we do is fresh and in season. So they don't cook with anything that's not fresh or in season. If they're using meat, it's ethically sourced and it's sympathetically farmed, for example. Everything they do has got to be impeccable in its presentation. It's got to be fun. And their number one principle, it's got to be discreet. Now, I also did some strategy work with a major charity here, and they had something like 48 principles, right? Which is just cumbersome. So we narrowed that down to 7. But the vision part, and this is what we were talking about, the vision part from last time was I run into people who haven't really got a vision in place, right?
Yeah.
So they really play at the bottom in what initiatives and tactics do we need to run with and strategies, but it looks like it's driven from the bottom up, but it's actually, what do you think? It's driven from the top down, right?
Yeah. And really, like when we think about the top, the values and the vision, just for everyone, because they can be a little confusing. And I always start off and just explain, if we're thinking about values, it's what we stand for. Okay. So we might see transparency or ethical or, accountable or honest or trustworthy or whatever it might be, but the purpose is like, why do we exist? Why are we here for? Okay. Yeah. And we know that, if you think about that the charity that you've worked on, or even your brother as a chef, then the mission is really, around what's the mission? What do we stand for, to provide them that future. And then finally the vision, that's that light on the hill. So purpose and mission can be kind of very similar. Okay. What do we stand for? Why do we exist? But that vision is, where do we want to be? That it's real future focused, isn't it?
Yeah. So for me, and we use the charity example, the mission was, I would say to my team, I had 154 delegates, volunteers and a team as well, right? And the mission was, what do you see us doing every day? And so our mission was, every day we were safeguarding vulnerable children. That's what we're doing every single day, right? And so we're on that mission or not. So, I did a short stint with Crisis here in the UK, and their mission is to give a homeless person a bed tonight. And that's what you see us doing every single day, right? The Mahler Foundation, their mission is every single day you see us promoting the legacy of Gustav Mahler, the composer, right? But the vision is where, as like you're saying, the light on here, where are we going with this? Where are we going tomorrow, right? And that can take some real tease.
Looks like we've lost Andrew. So what I think I often find, and we'll wait, I'll get you to check in, RG, when Andrew's going to come back. What I often find is the case is that I see an organisation, you're back, beautiful. I see an organisation having a vision and a mission, okay? And Andrew, what you're saying is sometimes they don't have that. And I must admit that there are times... Yeah, that's right. I was just about to say, sometimes I must admit that I do go into an organisation where they say, yeah, we had one, it's probably 3 years old or it's 5 years old, or we haven't kind of looked at it for a little while. But it's important that the company has it, for sure. But what is so important as well, and Andrew, tell me what your thoughts are on this, is that triangle that I just shared with everyone should then be drip fed down to, say, the operations manager, and the operations manager should have a really clear strategy, vision, mission, purpose for their team with their initiatives. And same with, say, the operations team or the sales team or the distribution or the marketing or whatever it is, whatever it might be. So every single team has that triangle so that they're all connected to that broader vision.
So on your triangle, you've got, it's a great point you make, the objectives, right? If I'm saying, okay, this is the company, the top level stuff, right? But we've got performance measures, KPIs, but also key results, so I work with OKRs, particularly when I work with companies. What's the objective? What are the key results that you're chasing? And then that can actually cascade down the line, so everyone can have their own objective and key results, as long as they're being fed up to their line manager, for example, right?
Exactly.
But it's when they don't have them. That's the problem. And you mentioned a great point about the vision part. Is people say, oh, we've got a vision, we haven't looked at it for 3 years. So again, using the example of the charity, our vision was to be the go-to resource for play therapy in the UK. Right? To put that in context, we had a horrific situation here where a commission housing was something like 14-story commission housing, caught on fire, substandard materials, caught on fire. A lot of people perished. A lot of kids saw their parents perish in that fire, right? And you can't do talking therapy with a child. You can't sit down like you with an adult. You can't do talking therapy, but you can do play therapy, for example. Play therapy is highly effective for someone who's had a trauma, right?
Yes.
And our vision was to be the go-to charity in the UK for play therapy. So when you dealing with a child, it's big chips, child that's had a trauma, right?
Yes.
And the only words I put on the end of that was this year. We're going to be recognised as the go-to charity for attachment play therapy this year, in the next 12 months, right?
Yes.
We achieved that. So that vision is no longer relevant.
You've got to do a new one.
That's right. We said,
Yeah. And that's right. And that's for everyone also listening too, is that vision doesn't mean that that's it. That's once it can't be changed. It absolutely can be changed. And it's the same with the purpose and the mission, okay, as well, because, like if we think about, say, an operations team might change the fundamental way in which they deliver to the sales team or to the customers. So therefore, the purpose, the vision, and the mission will change as well. But what I challenge everyone listening to today is if you think that if you can say your vision, mission, and purpose really clearly and articulate it beautifully, then one, that's great. But second point is if you were to ask one of your team members, what's the vision for the team? What's the mission? What's the purpose of our team? Are they using the same words?
Yeah,
I
brilliant.
bet not.
I bet not.
Yeah, I bet not. So it's a good.
My mission is to get paid every day, like that.
Yeah, so it's a good sort of little activity that I often go, and when I'm running this with, say, senior leadership teams, I ask everyone just for, just to set a bit of context. I go, right, so Andrew, tell me what the vision is for the team, and and ask the team, and nearly every single one of them will give me a different answer.
And you know what? A big part of this is the narrative that you build around that exercise, for example. So again, I'm going back to the charity, but everyone on the charity, we did this activity where we had little people, little groups where we would come in. What's our mission? Safeguarding children every day.
Yeah.
Everyone was on the same page. They all knew what our mission was to safeguard a vulnerable child, age 4 to 12, right? Yeah. So through our services and that, but we were safeguarding children, right? Yes. And the vision was we're the go-to charity for play therapy.
Yeah.
So it was. So it doesn't have to be sexy. It just has to be really, really super clear. Let me throw something at you here, because I had a meeting with a guy who recently who does major merger and acquisitions, somewhere between 20 and 100 million, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, when you go in, do you play around with values, vision, mission, and purpose? He said, no. He said, at that stage, he said, not unless they ask me, or I can see it's catastrophically off track. He said, but our job isn't to really go and fix that stuff up at all, right? But his comment was, God, the amount of companies that go into where they haven't got that sorted.
Yeah.
It's fuzzy, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And the point he made was that can have a big impact on the merger value.
Yeah, well, it can, but do you know what else? What do you see? And I'll share what I see as well. Yeah. So when this is not here, when we don't have a clear vision, purpose, mission, or even clear goals for, say, individual teams, What do you see is the impact of that?
Well, what you get is people doing what they think we're doing, right? And so they'll be off task. They'll be doing stuff that doesn't matter. They prioritize the wrong things. Well, actually not. They'll prioritize stuff that's important to them. They just haven't cleared it with anybody, right?
Yeah.
And so they tend to be busy, not productive, or they're off message, or they're off point, or whatever it is. So it's I work with a very large commercial real estate company here in the UK, and these guys, every 12 months we sit down and are we still on the same page with this, right? And they're sense checking. Does everyone know what we're up to? Do you know where we're going as a company? But when the question was, what happens when they're not on it? People end up, well, I'm just coming here every day to do work. It's good. I get a good income, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not really sure. At least I'm doing something. I'm doing tactical stuff. That seems to be important. So they I see them go down to the bottom right to the very bottom. We're doing tactical stuff, but it's not related to much. What do you see?
Yeah, all of that. But I think what I also see is low accountability. I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't know. No, are we doing that? Are we? Or just I didn't think that was me. The second thing that I see is I feel that a lot of people don't really have real clear purpose in their work. Okay, so I remember, I do a lot of work in the aged care industry, and I remember working with a great provider here in Australia, and I was working with one of the leaders, and it was really talking about that vision, mission, purpose, and why do you do what you do? And she said, every single day we talk about how many families we can help. Okay. So it's not how many calls we can make, not how many people we can sell our services to, not how many people we can It was how many families do we help? So every single day when I would talk to her, I would see her run her huddles and things like that. I would hear the people go, I've helped 10 families. I've just helped 20 families. So actually people felt closer to the connection. They felt more purposeful. They felt like they were doing what they really came in, what they got out of bed for in the morning.
Well, this sort of feeds into, like the Aristotle Project, Google's Aristotle Project and Oxygen Project. The number one thing was psychological safety and meaning and purpose. Yeah. I'm doing something meaningful. I'm making a difference. That's particularly true of millennial workforces, which, in case you've missed it, 2030, millennials are going to be running the planet 7 years away. There's going to be more millennials than baby boomers running the businesses and stuff like that. It's only 7 years away, right? And they want meaning and purpose, and they want to make a difference. They really want that. So
they do, don't they? And not only that, just to add to that, and I know we're coming close to time, so we'll try and bring it all together. But coming close to that is that we know that millennials expect more from their leaders than whatever before. So they expect to know where they're going, what they're doing, what's the next step for them, what are the goals, what are the measures, how are you going to help me do it? So they're expecting all of that from us. So when you said the real estate people come every single year to do this, every business should be doing this exercise with this triangle every single year to make sure. And then what I'm normally doing, with the strategies and the initiatives, because they're the little mini projects, I'm getting the leaders that are managing those, so operations, heads of, GMs, whatever it might be, actually really having those quarterly check-ins, breaking it down to quarters. What's our next 3 goals for the next quarter? Okay, so that people they're not looking so far on the hill, they're actually going, right, for the month of October, this is what we're aiming for. For the month of November, this is what we're aiming for. So it seems like it's more achievable. So you're absolutely right. We need to change as leaders as well. And for all the leaders that are listening, it's our responsibility. It's our expectation that we need to be setting the course. We need to be setting the course for our people so that they know where they're going. It's kind of like hopping into a bus with no map, right? So how are you getting the people on the bus to the destination that you want them to be at?
Yeah, one of the things that I find when I'm working with an individual leader at an exec coaching, like C-suite, right? And we talk about vision and mission. Oh, yeah, we've done all that, right? That resistance, right? Or they say, no, it's clear. I like that when they're definitive. I think, no, it's clear, we're on target, boom, boom, you can move on from that, right? I like that, right?
Yes.
When someone goes, we're still, right? The question is not about vision and mission at that point as an exec coach. It's how are you being around vision and mission?
Yeah.
Right? And how do you need to be around that, right? And what's your commitment? So I'm sort of looking at those three things always. How are you being around this topic, right? So quite often why they need coaching is because how they're being around this topic is lame. They're off message, they're off point, they're resisting, it's all that stuff. It's just another thing for me to work through, but it's pretty critical, right?
Well, I'm going to actually call it and say it is the most critical thing that a leader needs to have in the business, because if you're not setting course, if you don't have where the destination is, what the goals are, what the strategies are, what the objectives are, what the measures are to actually go, did we win or did we lose? Okay, then how do you know? Okay, now, again, I will call it for many leaders that will be listening to us today, it's okay not to know this. It's okay. Most of the time, people are put into a leadership position because they're good at what they do, great technician, great practitioner, and all of a sudden, oh no, I'm a leader. So it's okay to kind of look at this triangle and go, oh man, I didn't know there was anything like that. Okay. Yeah. What's not okay though is to not take action. Okay, because there's a model for it, there's tools, there's resources, and we can help if they need to have a chat about any of that as well. So to wrap it up, is there anything else you might want to share to any leaders or business owners out there that are around this that might be helpful?
Well, I think if you've managed to have a look at this triangle that you've put there, that's a pretty good roadmap for most people. So it might be good just to do a sense check over a coffee, and go, that's where it's almost like a heat map. Where am I missing a trick here? So that would be a good activity.
Yeah. So I can't help it. I've got to say one more thing.
It's your show.
It's our show. No, the one thing that I want to just close off with is that as leaders, it is so critically important that everyone is taking the time to think. This is an opportunity for everyone to just stop and go, right, where are we going? And actually, I might be clear on it, but is the rest of the team clear on it? So take the time to think about this. And we are not close. I mean, we're not close. We are so close to the end of the year, aren't we? Someone mentioned Christmas the other day, and I just went, no, I'm not listening.
The first Christmas ads. I've already seen them.
I'm not hearing about Christmas yet. I'm not ready for that. But businesses should be, actually. And I am running a workshop, actually, with Mel, and I might even get one of the team to pop it into the chat bar. I'm running a workshop for what are the top challenges that leaders are going to face in 2024. So I'll actually pop that into the link and register. It's a free workshop we're running on the 27th of September, 27th of September. But it really, you guys need to be planning, and you girls need to be planning around where you're going and what you're doing, because it's not far till 2024. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah. This whole vision thing, where it goes for me when I'm working with an individual leader is around health, right? Not only company health, but your own personal health. Because I know sometimes people don't have a vision, they just don't have the energy or the bandwidth for one. That's a big topic just in itself. But yeah. Hey, I'm going to leave with this. If you're a leader, here's a little activity you could try. What's the vision for your personal health? What's your mission with your personal health, right? Because I've mentioned that. I see that so often. I work with executives who are run right up. They're knocking on an empty tank. They're running right up to the red line, right? They don't have bandwidth to come up with vision or to think that stuff. So that's a big topic in itself. But
why don't we talk about that next fortnight?
I think we should.
I think
you started this by saying you were going to go and have a swim. You're going to walk out of your office and jump into the pool.
Well, do you know what? I run a company. I run a company. You run a company. I have a family. I have a house. I have all of that. And we are busy, okay, always busy, which I absolutely love, and I wouldn't change it. But I tell you what, my health is so important to me. I cannot run a business, a family, a house, and all of the things I've got to do without my health. Okay, you only got one shot at this, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. I can't start a day without doing a workout.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, absolutely. I've got a great model for that. We should share that. Do you know where I think? I think that it's called the men's model. I don't think you're going to find it anywhere on the on Google. Okay, I found it. I got it when we were doing our psych degree, so you might remember it. And I just absolutely love it. So we might even share that next week as well.
I want to see that next time.
Yeah. Yes, always so amazing to chat with you, Andrew. Thank you to all of our listeners. I hope this gave some insights, some tips, and just some jogging, some ideas for you to take forward your vision and your future for your team, and also for your leaders under you as well. So thanks, Andrew, for your time. Love it, and have a great week.
See you next time, eh?
Yeah, see you next time.